Hello, Harmony Heroes, and welcome back to the Music in Our Homeschool Podcast. I'm your host, Gena Mayo, and today we're continuing our Composer Spotlight series for Women's History Month. This is one of my favorite times of the year to slow down and intentionally highlight women whose creativity, perseverance, and courage helped shape music history, often without the recognition they deserved during their lifetime. Today's composer is someone I truly love introducing to homeschooling families because her story deeply resonates with students, parents, and especially young musicians who may wonder whether their gifts really matter. We are talking today about Amy Beach, the first successful American woman composer and one of the most important musical voices of her time. If you are a homeschooler looking for ways to easily and affordably include a quality music education in your homeschool, you've come to the right place. This is the Music in Our Homeschool Podcast. I'm Gena Mayo, homeschooling mom of 8 and music teacher for over 30 years. Amy Beach was born in 1867 in the small town of Henniker, New Hampshire, during a time when professional music careers, especially for women, were often rare and discouraged. But Amy's musical ability appeared almost immediately. From infancy, she reacted strongly to sound. As a toddler, she demanded specific songs, specific keys, and even specific ways they should be sung. By the age of 2, she could sing entire pieces accurately from beginning to end. Amy had perfect pitch, meaning she could hear a note or a chord and instantly identify it. No reference needed. This is incredibly rare. And even today, most professional musicians rely instead on relative pitch, where notes are identified by comparison. Even more astonishing, before she was ever allowed to touch a piano, Amy was composing music in her head. Entire pieces, complete with harmony. Her mother, Clara Cheney, was herself a trained musician and church singer, but she was deeply concerned about raising Amy as a normal child. She believed strongly in modesty, restraint, and avoiding public spectacle. For a long time, the piano for Amy was strictly off limits. But music doesn't wait politely. Amy sang constantly. She created melodies to nursery rhymes. She imagined an entire keyboard under her fingers and she would play music in the air. And she remembered everything she heard. Eventually, an aunt intervened, sat Amy down at the piano bench, and the floodgates opened. At just 4 years old, Amy played the melodies she had been storing up in her mind, adding harmonies instinctively. Once Amy began formal piano lessons, initially with her mother, her progress was astonishing. By 7, she gave her first public performance. By her early teens, she was performing demanding works by Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Mendelssohn, and Handel, often entirely from memory. Her family eventually moved to Boston, the musical center of the United States at that time. Boston offered access to orchestras, concert halls, elite teachers, and the cultural life that simply didn't exist elsewhere in the United States. Amy practiced 4 hours a day. She studied academic subjects with equal intensity and excelled in mathematics, languages, and the sciences. Teachers and critics alike called her the greatest musical prodigy in America. Yet even with all this recognition, her parents hesitated to allow a full public career. At the time, the professional stage life was considered inappropriate for middle-class young women. Marriage, not music, was viewed as the ultimate goal. Finally, when Amy was 16, her mother agreed to allow a formal piano debut, partly believing it might make Amy more marriageable. Amy stepped onto the stage of the Boston Music Hall and performed major concert works with the orchestra. She was calm, confident, and technically brilliant. The response was overwhelming. Critics raved. Flowers filled the stage. Newspapers across Boston and even New York declared her a sensation. Amy later described the experience as feeling like driving a powerful team of horses, fully in control, alive, and unstoppable. She published her first composition shortly after, and her life as a professional musician truly began. Here's where Amy Beach's story becomes especially remarkable. While she received excellent piano training, she was largely self-taught as a composer. In the late 1800s, women were rarely admitted to advanced composition programs. Most serious composition training happened in Europe, and access was limited even for men. Amy studied scores on her own. She analyzed the works of Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, and other great composers. She taught herself orchestration. That's what instruments should play which parts. Counterpoint, which is how you put different melodies and harmonies together. And large-scale musical form, like symphonies and piano concertos, through careful studying and listening. At age 18, she published her first art song, With Violets, which became Opus 1. It was the beginning of a lifelong relationship with her publisher, Arthur P. Schmidt, who published nearly all of her works for the next 30 years. That same year, Amy married Dr. Henry Harris Aubrey Beach, a respected Boston physician. After their marriage, Amy drastically reduced her public performances, giving only one recital a year at her husband's request. This may sound limiting, and in some ways it was, but it also pushed Amy into a season of extraordinary compositional productivity. She became especially well known for her art songs, which were incredibly popular at the time. Families gathered around the piano in the evenings, and solo singers performed expressive songs set to poetry. One beautiful example is her setting of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem, The Rainy Day. The text reflects sorrow, perseverance, and hope, ending with the famous line, "Into each life some rain must fall." Amy's musical setting mirrors that emotional journey perfectly. By the way, if you head over to the accompanying blog post to this episode, you'll hear some of her music. Find the link in the show notes or description. But Amy did not stop with songs. In 1892, she wrote a Mass in E-flat major, Opus 5, and it premiered at the Boston Music Hall. This was a major achievement. Sacred choral works of this scale were rarely written by women. Then came her most historic milestone. In 1896, Amy premiered her Gaelic Symphony, Opus 32, becoming the first American woman to compose and successfully premiere a symphony. The work drew inspiration from Irish folk melodies and was warmly received both in the United States and abroad. She also composed chamber music, including a piano quintet and a violin sonata, both of which remain staples of the repertoire today. In 1910, Amy's husband passed away. After his death, Amy resumed performing more frequently and embarked on a European tour, where she was welcomed as a respected composer and pianist. She lived abroad for several years, returning to the United States in 1914 due to World War I. This period marked a new level of independence and artistic maturity in her work. Amy continued composing well into her later years. In 1915, her Panama hymn was performed at the Panama Pacific International Exposition in San Francisco. She wrote her only opera, Cabildo, in 1932, based on a historical pirate legend set in New Orleans. It was not performed until after her death. Her final song, Though I Take the Wings of Morning, reflects a lifetime of musical depth, emotional honesty, and spiritual reflection. Amy Beach gave her final performance in 1940 and passed away in 1944. Amy Beach matters not just because she was a woman composer, but because she was an excellent composer. She wrote symphonies, concertos, chamber music, sacred works, art songs, piano pieces, and an opera. She proved that American composers could stand alongside European traditions. She proved that women could master every musical form. Her life offers a powerful lesson for homeschooling families: the lessons of persistence, disciplined self-study, creating even within limitations, and lifelong learning. So as we celebrate Women's History Month this month, take some time to study Amy Beach. She reminds us that music history is richer and more complete when we tell all the stories. I hope this composer spotlight inspires you to listen more deeply, explore her music with your children, and remember that creativity often grows quietly before it changes the world. Remember to head over to the accompanying blog post, find the link in the show notes or description so that you can listen to her music yourself. Thanks for spending this time with me today. Until next time, keep pressing play and making music a part of your everyday homeschool life.